Welcome to the show. I have a super talented musician as my guest today, Dusty Bow. So Dusty was in a band called Future Villains, not True Villains like my shirt, but Future Villains. And I checked them out. It was great stuff. Kind of sounded a little bit like Lit or Papa Roach. And he's clearly a very good singer. But now he's going out on his own. He has a new solo EP out called Vulture. It's going to be part of this whole album called The Vulture and the Fox, I believe. And the songs are out right now. They're on Spotify and YouTube. You can hear them. They sound kind of like the Black Keys or Cage the Elephant vibe, but also has some southern rock and country vibes, especially one of the songs. Really good stuff, very catchy. So you'll get to know him in this episode and a little bit of his backstory. So check it out. Enjoy. Welcome to the podcast, Dusty Bow. That's an easy name to say. It's not hard to pronounce that one at all.
Good. That's that some people are kind of thrown off by it, and they ask me if it's my real name, and it's not. It's,
right. So tell me the story. How did you come up with that name? Is that like your middle name, or how did you come up with that stage name?
Well, my birth given name is Dustin Bay. But when I was younger, I used to play, I played baseball for, until I was 15, 16 years old. And the majority of that time, my teammates and coaches would call me Dusty.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Just a thing, like a baseball, nickname or whatever. And then so it's some family members and other, friends, but it wasn't like what I went by. And then, but my last name, it's Bay, but it's spelled Boeh.
Okay.
It's German, so the O is silent or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So it was very confusing for is playing baseball growing up, the commentators or, whoever's like announcing the game, Boe or Bowie or blah, there was just, nobody got it right.
Right. Sure.
Nobody got it right. And, when I moved to Los Angeles, I was in this southern rock band called Bolt Action Thrill, and it was just something. It was something that I when I got asked about it a lot, about my name, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna make it simple for everyone. So
there you go. Makes it easy. Yeah, I know. I heard story I had this. I used to work in the schools. I had this student. He came over from China, and he had like a Chinese name, and he shortened it. He changed it to Sam. Had nothing to do. It was just like he was a fan of Uncle Sam, and so he's like, it's like he's coming over from China. He's like, my name's Sam now, because it's like so hard with some of those foreign names. I mean, those languages don't. It's harder for American, and it's like instead of just getting butchered over and over, it's probably easy for a lot of people to just change or shorten or whatever. So I totally get it.
Yeah,
very cool
for sure.
So let's talk about you grew up in Kentucky. I feel like it's always cool to hate the place you're from. Like I was from Seattle, and everyone always complained about the rain and how much they hated it. Then I moved to Phoenix, and all the locals are like, they're flabbergasted that I moved from Washington. Like, oh, it's so beautiful over there, and they hate the sun here. So tell me, is it the same in Kentucky? Do the locals all hate it and complain about it? Because the few places I've been in the South, like Nashville and the Carolinas, I loved it. So I mean, but you tell me.
Yeah, it does kind of have that. It's hit and miss, really. Like there's a lot of people that definitely that complain about it, how it's just like, that whether it's the wet, it could be the weather, it could be just the types of, bars and this, people or whatever, but it's just like, that's, that has been a thing that I've noticed with a good amount of people that are just kind of like, they ask me like, why'd you come back from California? Why would you want to come back here? And it's like, there's so many great qualities about Kentucky, especially Louisville. Louisville's a very, very diverse city. And, there's lots of great places to play when the world is open, there's a lot of great places to play and eat and whatnot. And, it's a pretty damn cultured city as well. So,
but it's gotta be a culture shock coming from California.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It was definitely, it was tough to get used to for a minute, but it was also like, I don't know, when I moved back, I was so ready to leave. Like I'd been there for like a little, like 9.5 years. I was in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And just a lot of things just directed me to kind of
Sure.
get out of there, and I was just like, what better place to go than home? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I thought about just going right to Nashville and stuff. I was like, no, I don't want to deal with a big city again and do that right away. And, you know, but I'm really happy to be back here. It's an awesome city.
That's very cool. So what's the music scene like growing up there? You know, is there local musicians that were influential or places that you went and saw music?
Um, you know, that's kind of a tricky question because I like, you know, I would go. I didn't go to too many like local shows when I was growing up here. I went to a good amount of like, you know, bigger concerts whenever somebody like, you know, Shine Down or Avenged Sevenfold
Oh yeah.
or you know, bands like that were coming in town. Like I'd go see them, you know, and but as far as like the music scene, that was the big reason why the band I was in we took off to LA was because we had started, you know, I was in a band, my very first band. We played we were probably between the ages of 18 to 20, the three of us, and then we, you know, hit the local circuit and whatnot. And there was a lot of different bands at the time. There was a lot of guys that were trying to sound like Korn, Godsmack, you know, Buck Cherry. You know, there not even them like that. You know, but more so lots of new metal stuff was really hot at that time. Papa Roach and stuff. You know, and then our band at first, you know, we were called One Giant Leap. I didn't pick the name, but we were like kind of a mix of like, I was real big into Chevelle and Incubus. So we were kind of like this big, you know, try to be like this kind of big psychedelic kind of rock band.
All right.
And then, you know, we made a little bit of noise, but then we transitioned to Bolt Action Thrill, which was, we were kind of going for like a Southern / Motley Crue, you know, Black Crowes, Guns N' Roses kind of thing is what we want to do. But anyways, to answer your question, the scene was like, there was a lot of, you know, a good amount of places to play, lots of different kinds of bands, but it wasn't like, there wasn't a scene for just rock and roll. It was like, you know, it was kind of like there was so much other bands like just trying to wanting to be their own individual entity or whatnot. Like there was kind of, you know, there'd be like cliques and this, that, and the other, and we didn't really feel welcome in some of those areas. So we're like, well, fuck it, let's go. You know, let's go to where, you know, the music that we're really inspired by was created. And so yeah, we took off and went to California.
Like at what age did you start getting into music? Because I know your early influences were more like, you know, Jimi Hendrix, AC/DC, Zeppelin, Skinner, Black Crowes, Eagles. You know, that's kind of more like the 70s stuff. So at what age did you start getting into listening to music, and at what age did you start playing music?
Okay. I started playing guitar when I was 7. And
wow, that's young.
So
self-taught, or did you take lessons, or how'd you learn?
At first I was self-taught, you know, and I did take some guidance. That's honestly where I kind of wish I would have started taking lessons right out the gate, because when I started taking lessons, I was like, I think I was 10 or 11-ish, and by that time I had gotten pretty good. Like I'd learned to play a good amount of stuff on my own. I knew nothing about reading music. I knew nothing about theory or even chording things properly, but I knew how to play a bunch of stuff just by learning by ear. So when I'd go to take these lessons, and I would do good at the lesson, but then they'd give me homework, and then I'd be like, well, I don't want to do homework. Like this is why I play guitar. This is my escape from homework and school and stuff. And then I was like, I'm just going to play things that I know. And that became kind of a, you know, I was still really young, so I didn't really have the discipline to know like how much that would have benefit me to kind of know certain things with actually being inclined with theory and whatnot. But yeah, so I was 7 when I started playing guitar, and then I started writing and singing probably like around 15, and then I started doing kind of acoustic stuff with, you know, my friend Katie. With the first person who I ever wrote songs with was a childhood friend of mine, and we'd go out and we would do, you know, we'd play coffee shops and and all age places, you know, that our friends in high school could come to and stuff. And
so how did you develop your vocal ability? Because you know, you said that I've heard you sing, and you're great, obviously a great singer, and you've been quoted as saying the vocal range of Bon Scott to Chris Cornell, and it's hard to hit those Cornell notes. So is that something that just came over time or with practice, or?
Yeah, definitely. That was something that I honestly I didn't have that kind of range until I joined the band that I was in my majority of time in Los Angeles, which was Future Villains. Which I saw your shirt, True Villains. So we'll get to that in a minute. Like those guys are awesome, and when we had the way we met was pretty funny. We had some similarities, not just the name, but
right.
So that band was Future Villains. When I joined them, was kind of the that came along right at when things with my first band that I was in LA, Bolt Action Throw, and that was kind of falling apart. And when I was in the studio, you know, that was the direction the band was going, was like AC/DC, Velvet Revolver, kind of like Jet, Guns N' Roses, you know, kind of thing. And I never had somebody that really pushed me vocally in the studio all that much. Like I knew some things that I could do and try to do and whatnot, but as far as like layering harmonies and doubling and doing all these things, like the guitar player and producer for that band, Clay, he was really good with getting me to find out like what I could do. And so that was when it was like, and I played in some cover bands and stuff on the Strip and whatnot, where like, you know, I would try certain AC/DC songs, but it wasn't until I really like got in the studio. And also my vocal coach, Mark Baxter, he was the reason that I was able to maintain without destroying myself. Like when I had my first like vocal issue, I went to him and he showed me like these warm-ups and regimens that I could do to like pretty much before and after gigs and daily, to where I would not be destroying myself. And if I was hurting myself, to kind of recover from it.
Right. So it was, you know, over time with some help from people and stuff like that. So yeah, so this first band you were in, Bolt Action Thrill, that was your first band, right?
That was my, pretty much, yeah. Okay. That was, you know,
and you guys decided to move to LA to perform in Hollywood and on the Sunset Strip, and you did that for a few years. So tell me about those years. Like, what were the highs and lows? I mean, that's a big step to, you know, I've heard stories of guys moving from the Midwest or wherever and go to LA, and like Sean, I think it was Sean McNabb, like he moved from Indiana or something to California, and he was at like one of the Cat House Club, and he just happened to run into Frankie Banelli, and they gave him the Quiet Riot gig like almost like right away when he moved there. So I mean, sometimes you hear stories like that, and then what's that?
What was the guy's name? I'm sorry, you kind of kind of went out for a minute.
Sean
what
McNabb.
Was the guy's name?
Sean McNabb, he's a bass player.
Yeah.
He's been in like Quiet Riot.
I've gigged with Sean.
Yeah, okay. So you hear stories like that where sometimes they move there and then like right away, boom, they're like Ugly Kid Joe. That's another one, was like the band started in Santa Barbara, like they got signed like a few months later. And you hear stories like that, and then you hear stories where, you know, bands are together for years and years and it just doesn't happen. So tell me about those years, like what you guys are trying to make it happen. Are you working day jobs during this time? Like,
yeah, we all were. So that was like, I guess that was a really cool thing about the time that we went out there. So we moved out there in 2009, and I'd say the rock scene, like the actual Hollywood Sunset Strip rock and roll scene, really died probably in like 2014, 15. Like it's not really, I mean, not to say there's not rock and roll band. I kind of hate saying that because I'm not one of those guys that says rock and roll's dead. I'm not, and I never will be. But it's like, good. As far as like the scene goes, I remember showing up there 2009, like going to see my buddy's band. They were called Cast of Kings, and they were playing at the Roxy. It was Cast of Kings, Lovin' a 38, and Run Devil Run. And I remember like standing, like I was sitting on the back of my brother's car smoking a cigarette, and I saw this van pull up between the Roxy and well, no, I guess it is on the other side. So the Roxy's right next to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, but on the other side of the Roxy, where they have this alley, this van pulls up. The passenger gets out of front passenger seat of the van, opens up the trunk, and there's two guys just piled in there with gear, and they just start getting their gear. And I was like, this seems like something I like Almost Famous or something. You know what I mean? Just like it was very, very like quintessential rock and roll scene. Just these guys that were out pounding the pavement. They didn't even have enough money to like have a trailer or like a big enough van to fit all their gear. You know what I mean? It was very, very much
bare bones
how things were.
Yeah.
What's that?
Bare bones, it sounds like.
Totally. So like, I don't know when Sean moved out there, but like, there's definitely I know of some people getting good gigs like that, you know, with big bands, but it's definitely that's a rare occasion, you know. But we definitely like caught the. I'd like to say, you know, and certain people might disagree, but I know a lot of people would agree that we kind of caught the tail end of that scene where there was like, because then the Cat Club was still open, which was, did you ever go to the Cat Club? It was right next to the Whiskey.
No, I just went to the Whiskey for the first time like a couple of years ago. It was amazing. But, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Whiskey's rad. So and that'll always be there because that's like a.
I hope so.
It's a.
It's iconic landmark.
Yeah, they had it. What do you call it? They crowned as a landmark. Like
okay,
it can never be torn.
Landmark status. Good.
Yeah, landmark status. That's it.
Very cool. So you're there. You guys are there. You're gigging. So like, are you doing bartending jobs, or what are you doing? You're working during the day and then trying to gig at night. And like, how many shows a week are you doing? Like, what is it? It's got to be like a grind to be doing both things.
Big time, yeah. So we all had day jobs. I was working at first I started working at like a deli, and then I was working at a car dealership. You know, one of the guys was working as at a hotel as like a concierge or a bellhop at first, and he actually worked his way up there. He's kicking the most ass out of all of us right now. Our old drummer, he's working at the big hotel at the Hollywood and Highland.
Wow.
Which is like you know, it's a great spot, but he's doing really well. But anyways, we all had to work day jobs for sure, and like, because the other thing, which have you ever heard of the pay to play situation?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, where you have to pay to play at like a club or something, and then I guess you just hope that you get your money back. Like, but you have to kind of front the money, right? Or
yeah, so it's like essentially what, you know, and not all clubs do this. Like, this was one thing I loved about the Viper Room is they never did that to us. It's like they were just like, okay, how many people do you think you could bring? We're going to start you in on a 9 o'clock on a Wednesday night or whatever, and then however you do from there, then we'll gauge what your next show is going to be like. Cool, sure. That makes sense. That's fair, you know. So, and the Whiskey took great care of us too. But you know, this was their business model, and it's also was for the Roxy, certain House of Blues. You know, a good amount of venues out there do this. And so what they do is you sign a contract saying, okay, we're giving you 60 tickets, or you know, however many 60 tickets to start with, and by the hour before your stage time, you have to give us $600. It was usually about $10 a ticket for what they give you. You can sell the tickets for however much you want, but they give you 60 tickets, and then you owe them $600. You know, before an hour before your set time, and if you don't give them that money, they cut your set to 15 minutes, and then you can't play there again until you pay that contract back or whatever. So essentially what that made everybody have to do was we had to go out and sell tickets. Like, and for a new band in Hollywood, it's like $10, say you sell it for the minimum, $10 for the ticket. $10 a ticket, $15-20 you know, for somebody to park. It's $10 a drink there. So, you know, that's asking a lot of, you know, you're looking at a $35-40 night to come see some band that nobody's ever heard about.
Yikes.
You know, so
yeah.
It was a tough sell, you know.
For sure.
So that was like that was a big part of why, you know, the whole Hollywood scene, it became a popularity contest. You know, it didn't, or if you just had enough money you had somebody in the band that was rolling, then you could just have them eat the price for the tickets, and then you could just pass them out.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then if you you know, and it was so tricky too, because sometimes when there were free shows, or if you gave somebody a free ticket, then a lot of times they wouldn't go, you
Oh,
know, because they
wow.
didn't pay for it. You know?
Sure. Yeah. There's no investment. So that band
Exactly.
fell apart, and then you joined the band Future Villains. And from this
Yeah.
one, it was this a little bit better of a more successful band. Like you did international touring, you performed at the Whiskey and the Troubadour and the Viper. You recorded at Sunset Studios and NRG Studios. Those are big studios. I heard a great song called Reject, another one called Devil in Her Bones. That had a great music video. Bullets in the Wind, I think, was a bunch of great songs. So what happened with that band? Because it sounded like pretty good to me. I don't know. Was it just kind of what you're saying with the pay to play and stuff, or?
Well, we never got affected. That was one thing that was really cool with that band, was we never had to do that, because everybody in that band had been in bands prior, and we had already made a name for ourselves, I guess, as individuals in the scene, you know. So like all the promoters and talent buyers, like we had people that could vouch for us if the bookers didn't already know us personally and hadn't worked with us previously. So we never had to do the pay to play thing, which was nice. And we got, you know, we were, we for the first time, like that was, you know, I guess my first experience with being out there and not focusing on anything really other than just like kicking ass as a band. Like that was what we were just like, let's, you know, and that was going back to Clay, the guy who was the founder of the band and also the producer and, you know, pretty much the shot caller of the band, was like, why don't we just focus on our sound? We'll have a great product. We'll put on a great show, and then we'll just become a force to be reckoned with. And I was like, I love that. I don't want to go, because I mean, when you got to do the pay to play thing, you know, I was driving to West Covina, to Santa Monica, Valencia. I was driving all over outside of LA proper just to sell tickets, just to get somebody, you know, delivering their tickets. Like, hey, if you want this, I'll even bring it to you, you know, just to guarantee me that you're going to buy one of my tickets. And then they were like, Clay and the bass player was like, you don't need to go out selling tickets when we do our shows. And I was like, great.
That's nice. So what was like the best show that you guys played as Future Villains? Like what was the highlight gig, or any really memorable shows that stand out?
Man, the last one we did at the Troubadour was really great, because we had been a band for about 5 years at that point, and we were just really tight, and we had like a bunch of new songs we had written, and like so we were just the Troubadour. But then my favorite one, and there's some clips of this online. I can actually send you once we get done. We toured with Steel Panther.
Oh, nice! I love them. That's one of my favorite bands.
Dude, yeah, they're killer. Which is funny, like True Villains. When I met them, rocking the True Villains shirt. I actually have mine in my closet too.
Nice. I love this guy. I had Bo on my show. He's great. I love him.
Dude, yeah, I think that's actually how I found out about you. Was I saw Bo post about the interview. Yeah. So I met them in Nashville when they were doing a show at one of the Tin Roofs, and then I was like, man, this is cool. I used to be in a band called Future Villains, and you know, we were a hard rock band too. And they're like, yeah, man. Well, I was like, when are you guys playing again? And they told me we're opening for Steel Panther at the Nashville Marathon Music Marathon Works, I think is what it was called. So that was a cool connection, because we did a few tours. That when we did the international tours, we were direct support for Steel Panther.
So international, so that's like in Europe, or where exactly did you go?
No, we went to Canada with them a few times.
Okay, but that's a tour. I mean, you got the bus and everything. You're living the life of the rock star life.
Yeah, it was rad. That was very cool. We had a motorhome. We definitely we tried to skip all the steps as far as like vanning it and this and that and the other, which, you know, we had a motorhome. We didn't have like a big giant bus. We had a really nice motorhome that you know, we all kind of pitched in and on and whatnot.
So what happened with that band? Like, what do you think went wrong? You got to hopefully have learned something from that, because obviously you guys broke up. Because I heard the songs, like I said, I thought the songs were great. I think you had the talent, you had the look. I mean, you're not weird looking or, morbidly obese or anything. You're in shape, you're singing, you're moving, you got the moves. I mean, you guys look like and sound like a real high quality rock band. Even the music video was high quality. So like what happened?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we definitely
That's a compliment. Yes.
We definitely worked hard for a long time to get, all those things and whatnot. But after we did the first or second tour with Panther, we essentially got, long story short, we got approached by this investor who had a manager, that, his business partner or whatnot, that they put a bunch of money into the band, and we ended up, writing and recording a whole full-length album. I think it was at least 12, if not 14 songs, at Sunset Sound at NRG that never got released just because money and greed really, really wrecked everything, because people were getting put on retainers and money was getting thrown out certain ways, and like we were kind of not that we needed all the creative, not that we needed all the control. We were given all this creative control, and they were putting us. We should not have been in Sunset Sound. As much as I loved that we were there, that was way beyond an unknown band. Like, I mean, I don't know what the bill was. I have an idea, but we already had like a recording studio that we had, built at our guitar player's house that we were planning on using and stuff. But they wanted us to, do all these things that not that we weren't ready for, but it just didn't make sense financially for them. Like, it's like, how are they going to recoup all this money?
So wait, sorry, who paid all these bills? The record label or the management or both? Or
no, it was an investor who was like part of he was an independent, like, he's a trust fund baby. He's a trust fund.
Okay.
There's
all right.
There's
Interesting.
No other way to put it. And he was a really nice guy, but the guy that he had tied on, he literally had more money than he knew what to do with, and the guy that was his management business partner he was greasy dude, and he had a lot of like ulterior motives in his pocket to like get himself taken care of, and then his other friends taken care of, to like where we had PR people, we had other producers and other people lined up that we wanted to use for certain things, and when that came to be, it's like, no, we're going to go with this, even though it's going to cost us way thousands and thousands and thousands of more dollars. This is who we know. This is who we're comfortable with. And it was like, there was a lot that went into it, but essentially it was money and greed that kind of wrecked.
Well, that's too bad. Yeah. Cause I did like that band, but so the band falls apart. And you decide to go, I guess that's when you decided to go solo.
Yeah. Well, not right away. I played with some other people and started a couple other projects. Started one and joined another, and I was just kind of seeing what I could do, and what not being in that band would bring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, just as far as like the freedom from it and whatnot, because it was a lifetime investment.
Sure.
As far as,
well, one thing I saw that you did Soundcheck Live, which is a thing that I want to check this out. It's hosted by Izzy Presley, who I've had on the show. And all these great high-level musicians come in, and you played with Alex Kane from Enough's Enough, Jimmy Deonda from Bullet Boys, Barry Pointer from Methods of Mayhem. Like, who else did you get to? Did you do that a lot? I heard the cover that you did of AC/DC's Big Gun. I love that song.
Oh, dude, me too. That's the best unknown AC/DC song there is.
I love it. Yeah, I know Bon Scott is a cool guy to like, but I like Brian Johnson too, and I love that song. But yeah, so tell me about performing at Soundcheck. Was that like the only time you did that, or have you done that many times?
No, that was actually, so that's kind of how I got to meet Sean McNabb.
Oh, okay.
So I did that a bunch, like one of the guitar players. So it started, the Soundcheck thing started off as Ultimate Jam Night. Which started at Lucky Strike, and then there was a falling out between some of the core members, and then so Ultimate Jam Night moved to the Whiskey, and then Soundcheck Live was what stayed at Lucky Strike. So then, and they had their differences, as far as like the Ultimate Jam Night was every Tuesday at the Whiskey. Soundcheck Live was like every last Wednesday at Lucky Strike. But like, yeah, that it was really cool. I got to do Metal Health with Chuck Wright and Frankie Banali, so that was cool getting to
Oh,
perform Quiet Riot with two
yeah.
Quiet Riot members.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and also before Frankie R.I.P. That was that was a really cool moment. And then Sean, he's obviously a badass. Matt Starr, who's a great drummer, he
Yeah.
played for was it Ace Frehley and Mr. Big now. I think
Yes.
that's Mr.
Yeah, I
Big.
think so.
Mitch Perry, who's
Yeah.
played for Lita Ford, Edgar Winter. Who else?
So lots of great musicians you get in the jam with. That looks like a lot of fun. So anyway, so you're doing some jamming, you're doing some other stuff. Did you ever have like any like other big offers that you turned down, or like an almost like tryouts that you almost made it to for a band or anything like that? I love hearing these kind of stories.
Well, yeah, that was something. That's another video I'll send you. I don't know if this is why I didn't get the gig, but when I did, I was singing a good amount for. I did more shows with the Ultimate Jam Night guys than I did at Soundcheck.
Okay.
Because they had them more often, right? They were once a week opposed to once a month. When I can't remember, I think his name was it Jizzy Pearl?
Jizzy Pearl, yeah, from Love Hate, and I think he was in Rat and LA Guns, maybe, and yeah. And
then he sang for Quiet Riot for a bit.
I think so, yeah. He's done a lot.
Whoever it was, this was like 2015 or 16 at the latest. Quiet Riot had just gotten a new singer that I think came after Jizzy. And either way, they just got a new singer, and then he did a few runs with them, and then I guess they weren't happy with him. And Chuck told me, he was like, "Hey, I want you to." He was telling me about that, but not mentioning. He was kind of hinting he wanted me to audition and whatever, but he never like actually said it. And then he messaged me and told me that Frankie was going to be coming down and doing a few songs, and he wanted me to sing. So we did Mental Health, and then we did Back in Black. And I rehearsed, when he asked me that, I went over this song for probably a week straight. I would say at least 2 hours a day. Like, I had it. I've never gone over one song as much as
wow, yeah,
one.
That's intense.
And I'm talking in my car, in my room, like my apartment, like I cover my face with a pillow because it's a loud song, right?
Sure.
So like I was doing anything I could to be fully prepared for the song, and get there, and I'm killing it. You know, we're in the song, and I'm just crushing it, and then halfway through the second verse, my wireless microphone battery dies.
Oh no!
So I was like, fuck, and I'm trying to reset it and whatever, and because it wasn't mine, it was one of the guys. You know,
oh, okay. Well, that's good. So you can't get blamed for that.
Yeah, because I would have absolutely changed about it, but I was like, they definitely didn't have them changed that day, which was very surprising.
Yeah.
But whatever, those things happen.
Sure.
So I ran over and like grabbed one of the wired mics, like a backing vocal mic, and started singing on that, and then that's on video. I'll send you that too. But I got a feeling that might have been what happened. But then they got James Durbin to sing for him, and he's amazing.
Great.
Like that dude, yeah. But Chuck told me, he was like, that kind of, I didn't want to say anything, but that was kind of like your audition, and Frankie's the guy that calls the shots, and we decided to go with James, and I was like, I get it, you know what I mean? Especially like he's a well-known dude.
Sure.
Too, but
sure.
That was probably the only. I think that was probably the only
big audition, or almost
the only big one that I met with a couple other managers and stuff, but it wasn't really an audition. It was kind of just a getting to know, just kind of an introduction thing as far as that goes. But that was the only time I guess there was ever, because also it was just like I was so focused on Future Villains. That was just we were in that, like
Yeah,
there was
sure.
well, yeah, the other guys got offered other gigs and stuff too, but we were just um,
You were
we
all
wanted to
in.
make it.
Yeah.
We were all in it. All of
Yeah.
us were all in.
So
Yeah.
it didn't work out. So then eventually, though, you do decide, you're going to start this solo thing. In 2018, a couple of years ago, you did or 3 years ago, now it's 2021. I saw this single, I'm Done. But this is like almost country music. I mean, it's very Southern bluesy, kind of has that Black Crowes vibe to it. Was there more music that kind of fit with this single, or was that just designed as kind of a one and done?
Hold on, you cut out there a good amount there. I'm sorry. You said 2018.
Yeah, the I'm Done song. It was
Yeah,
very
okay.
Southern bluesy rock. I just wonder if that was just kind of a one and done, one off kind of single, or were you going to try to do like a whole album in that vein? Because the new EP that you have is a little different. So we'll get to that. But
Yeah. So that was actually I'm Done was the first single that I put out, and that was actually a part of a 4-song EP. Because so when I left Future Villains and I started doing other things and I started writing a lot more, and I was writing a lot of country songs at the time, like really bluesy Southern kind of country stuff. And then I came home for a holiday once, and my buddies were like, "Why don't you just do this? Be like a solo kind of Southern rock country artist, and whatnot." And I was like, "Well, that's not a bad idea, Like, why not? Because I've always been into that kind of music." So I started kind of going that route. I kind of started tapping in, going to Nashville and tapping into the country and singer-songwriter scene and this, that, and the other. And I released that EP. The EP that I'm Done was on. I released that in like May 2018, and when I was, kind of going over some things with, just friends, and like when I was doing co-writes and stuff, like I was always coming back to rock and roll, and then that EP was very directed towards I'm Done's the least country song that was on it. Like you said, it's kind of a bluesy, Southern rock kind of thing. So that's why that one is actually still up there. I took down actually because I wanted to do a rebranding thing, because it was like I was trying out like a new thing, just going, like I said, going to Nashville and like seeing how I could tap in as like a country artist and this, that, and the other. But like I would always come back to wanting to do something more rock and roll and whatnot. Not that I dislike country or anything. I love a lot of country music, and I still write it and whatnot. But as far as like what I do for my own project, it's definitely it's got to have more of a rock and roll appeal, and so that's why it's kind of a jump from I guess
okay.
From to my
sure
current
that makes
songs.
sense. So then so the new EP, Vulture, there's only a few songs on it, but they're really good. It's I think someone, I don't know if you or somebody described it kind of as like Black Keys meets Cage the Elephant sounds. Who produced this EP, or did you have any help with the production of the songwriting or the drums or instruments, or did you do everything?
No, I did have some help. So Bandit, my first single, and then my third single, which is called Burn Me.
Yes,
those were both
great.
Those were both kind of thank you. Those were actually recorded in Los Angeles with a side project that I had started with some good friends of mine. Who they're some of those guys, a couple of them, bass player and the guitar player in a band called Wavy Trees, and they're super cool. LA, kind of a beach alternative rock band, like a can't really put it. They're just fun. They're a good time. They're a really, really cool band. And then the drummer is my good friend Jonah Nimoy, who is also, he plays rhythm guitar in The Offspring.
Oh, nice.
But he's a phenomenal drummer. Like that's him, playing drums, and we've done a lot of work together. I was in his band Furiosa for a little bit too before I came home. And anyways, we did those two songs, Bandit and Burn Me, and we recorded them with our buddy Jason Mazelis, who he engineered them, but we all kind of, I guess, produced them together. It was like we all pitched in on the writing and production process as far as like arrangements and stuff go. But then the rest of the album, I've written some of the songs with various writers. The majority of them are written by me, but I have there's probably 3 other songs on there I think I did co-writes but the producer is his name's Michael Esser, and he's out of he's in Nashville, Tennessee, at a place called Sundog Studios, which is over in East Nashville.
So you did have a little help. So yeah,
studio.
The Bandit, I love that song. It's a rockin' song. People should definitely check that out. Very catchy. I like it's like the woo-hoo-hoo or whatever that part. It just gets stuck in your head. And then the Burn Me, like you said, that's another really great, catchy tune, great riff. What is that song about? Because like, so I was listening to some of the lyrics and I'm like, running and nowhere to go, started as a hunter but soon became the prey, living an endless lie. I'm like, oh, I kind of like these lyrics. Like, I'm not big on lyrics usually, but I'm like, sounds like it's kind of got a deeper meaning.
It does. Actually, that's cool you asked about that. So that song, going back to the way things were in, previous bands or whatnot, where there was a lot of times where I would get used as a vocal workhorse, you know what I mean? Or whatever, like to where it was just like, no, we're just going to go with, how do I say this without saying too much? It's just
say too much. So it makes for a good interview when you spill the beans.
What's that?
It's what makes for a good interview, when you spill the beans and tell the dirt.
This is true. And I've talked about it before. It's no secret, whatever. So there was, a certain someone in Future Villains that wasn't keen on a lot of my ideas. It was either his way or the highway. And when I brought songs, they'd either get thrown away or they would get completely changed to something else that wasn't even anywhere close to what I was writing about, or how I want them to sound. So that song Burn Me, that was an idea I brought to be a Future Villain song. And it got changed to be something completely different that I just was not happy with at all. So anyways, the lyrical content after that it all happened, was essentially about that whole situation with like not just with him, the band member, but the whole, like, also the the investor and that monster manager, as we call him, came along to where they kind of just intercepted us. And like, it was like, I would, started as the hunter. It's like, okay, yeah, we, or you're always blind to something when your eye is on the prize.
Sure.
So that was essentially saying, like, we had our eye just on success and being a great band, this, that, and the other. And then here comes, Mr. Money Train and his management team that came and just, essentially hunted us, for, because we're this band making some moves and whatnot, and then that's what it is, really. It's like we had our focus in this tunnel vision, and we were going, obviously we kind of, in the music industry that you got to keep your eye out for people and whatnot, and we had done that, and we had dodged a few people. Like there's a few people that was like, okay, we're not feeling this. This guy comes along, and at first it's all like great. The first 6 months were just, it's like, this is it. This is literally the ideal situation. It's not a record deal. It's not a investment deal. Like, these guys are just managing us, and they're putting in a bunch of money, and the only time we're going to have to pay them back is, and this is what it said in the contract, and in a nutshell, the only time we were going to have to pay them anything is once we started making a lot of money. It was a really, really weird situation, but it was like one of those things that it seemed like a dream come true at first. And then, a good friend of mine told me a long time ago, money will be the first thing to fuck up a good thing. And that was absolutely what took it all down. But that's kind of what that song is about. Burn Me is kind of the dangerous pursuit of a successful career in the music industry, how it's just like, you're the hunter, you're the one going out there hunting for your success, but there's going to be people that are going to try to
then you become the prey. Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then you got The Conductor. That's another good song. Heavy song. I love the screaming on that. And then, So All I Can Dream. Let's talk about that, because that's even more Southern than the I'm Done song. I mean, that's pretty much a full-on country song. Would you agree? Like, are you still going to experiment with your sound and kind of go back and forth between rock and country, or is Southern? Is it going to be kind of Southern rock with country flair? Because there's a big gap between All I Can Dream and The Conductor. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And I like it all, but
yes, yeah, no.
I like the rock stuff better personally, just because. But it's all good. I mean, it's not like.
No, no, and I understand. That's something with this album. So basically, this whole album, well, one, it's a concept, and I'll get to that in a minute too. But it's like it's all going to tie in with the way it's going to be portrayed through music videos and illustration. All the songs tie in together for a story.
Okay.
That all the stories, all the songs are, have something to do with things that have actually happened in my life, and not, I never robbed a train like in Bandit where it's, about train robbery, but that's essentially about doing something that somebody else was kind of like telling me, this is what you need to do, go do this for me, and, kind of working for somebody else. But, with the whole, there's some other songs on the album. Like there's another one that's about as much, almost as country. It's more like kind of a swampy Southern, dobro slide guitar blues, like Delta blues kind of song, but it's just still like a solo acoustic kind of thing. That'll be out in the next couple months. But I kind of, with the whole approach for this album, the full album is going to be called The Vulture and the Fox. Vulture was the first EP. Fox is going to be coming out here in the spring, and then the Vulture and the Fox, the collection of the two with some additional songs, will come out in the summer.
Nice. So, I like that. That's a good way to do it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think I definitely put a lot, maybe too much thought into the whole thing, but it's definitely been fun because it all has a lot of personal meaning to me, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to some of the stories. But there's a good spread of genre, which is kind of another subliminal statement in the whole album in itself, because I've heard from so many people, that's true, so many people, but then also like a handful of like industry people. It's like you can't write a song that sounds like Velvet Revolver and then write a song that sounds like the Black Crowes and then have a song also on the album that sounds like Tom Petty. It's like, why the fuck not? Like, why can't I do,
Yeah,
like,
it's harder to sell that. I mean, although I will say, like, and some people will have that opinion, but like, I love Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Obviously, great album. But I really like the Use Your Illusions. And those are, I mean, there's songs, there's, full on industrial, like My World, song. And then there's like the full long ballads, and there's acoustic, and then there's just classic rock stuff. So, I mean, it runs the gamut all over the place, and I love that. But I do think it's harder to sell that to someone who's just getting to know you, right? Because they might listen to your country song and go, "Oh, I want to hear more of that kind of country stuff," and then listen to the other stuff and not be like, "What is this?" and then thrown, or vice versa. They might listen to the rock stuff and then be thrown to the country. So
totally, and that's been an interesting thing, like of seeing how people that do already follow me, like how which songs do better than the others, and who likes what, and who, because everybody's different, right? And I think that's part of the power in not being signed to a label, or being the power. One of the powers of being an independent artist is like, and also with the way things are today, it's like it's all about Spotify singles and stuff anyway. So it's like, okay, why not see what All I Can Dream can do in the Americana world, and then Bandit can do in the Guns N' Roses world and stuff. You know what I mean? So just kind of a whole experimentation to see and also just, it's just something that I think as an artist, we shouldn't be should never be restricted to what we're allowed to put out and whatnot. And so there's a few other big stretches of songs on there. I mean, that's about as far as, actually, there's one song I have that'll be one of my single to come out for the album, that's got like kind of a, I don't know, Royal Blood meets Aerosmith.
Ooh, that sounds good. I'm excited for that one. That's gonna be great. So you definitely lean more towards the rock. You're gonna throw some Southern flair, maybe a little bit of country here and there, but it's mostly gonna be rock once the full album is released.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. I approve. No. You can do whatever you want. I mean, but yeah, for me, like, I think it's cool if it's more rock. What about your social media? Like, is that part of the theme of the whole album? Because I noticed your social media, it's all black and white. There's no color. Is that all by design? Yeah. That's so that's the
So going back to the concept of the album, that's all going to be the whole story, the whole album, and each song is going to be a chapter. It's not going to be the entire thing. It's probably going to be the first 6 songs for right now, just because it's going to be a lot of work and money, and to get like essentially these videos done to where there's going to be animation and then like stop motion.
Oh wow!
Stuff, and it's all the story of a gunfighter moving out to the West, moving out to the Wild West, and getting caught up with, he goes out there to pursue a more exciting and beneficial life, and then he gets caught up with people that get him to that, almost to that point, and then they turn on him, and there's a lot of betrayal and then love and fucking excitement and whatnot, but that is all of it's going to be in black and white,
okay.
At least for this album. So that's kind of why, when I did the whole starting of the, I guess rebranding, which I think happened at the beginning of last year, was when the rebranding thing happened, which is crazy. It's been a year now, but yeah, so that's why it's all black and white. All the videos are just going to be, black and white, and also the album art. And yeah.
So how do you pay? You said you're not on a record label, so you can do whatever you want. But so then how do you pay for stuff like videos and all that? I mean, that stuff gets expensive, right? Are you just paying it for yourself? Or you have other investors this time, or?
No, I'm paying for it myself, but I've been fortunate, like this first video, and we're going to do a couple more videos together. It's done by a buddy of mine. His name's Carl Gookins, and he's a very, very talented artist. And we came across each other because, do you know about SoundBetter, the website soundbetter.com?
No.
It's essentially like any way of a hired gun studio musician, you can, and you have recording capabilities, at home or wherever, you can have a profile, on SoundBetter, to where, say I need somebody to play horns on one of my songs. I can get on SoundBetter, search for people that play horns, send them my song, and then if they can record it remotely, they record it, and then they send me the files. Oh. And you name your price and whatever. Nice. So I'm on there as a singer, guitar player, and a harmonica player, and then they came across me because these guys are Carl, this artist, and his buddy, his partner Tony, are putting together a graphic novel, and they're having music go along with it. So we're doing a trade work. So I'm singing on their stuff, and they're giving me some animation.
Great. So and then do you have any other? So the album will be coming out in chunks here, it sounds like. Do you have any plans for? I know obviously the pandemic throws a wrench into things, but are there any plans for shows? Would you want to do a tour, or would you want to try to just do local shows? Or is there bands that you want to tour with, or would you want to do like the cruise ships or festivals or all that? Or what's the plan with shows?
I would love touring as much as I can. Like, I love being on the road. Whenever the world opens back up, that's a thing me and my publicist have been talking about. Like, once the video gets done, I get my website and this, that, and the other, and have more of my whole product together. To start reaching out to some booking agents, because I do want to get back on the road. I know that's, we'll see how that's going to be. But as far as that goes, I would love to do a blues cruise. But I don't know. That's another thing. It's like, when are they going to allow 3,000 people to hop on a boat together?
Right.
Again?
Yeah. Who knows when that'll happen?
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I look forward to new music. At least I'll be able to hear that. And hopefully if I can catch a live show someday, if I'm in Louisville, or if you're in Phoenix, or if you're nearby.
Yeah, that's where you're out in Phoenix? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Scottsdale, but Phoenix, yeah, it's Arizona. But yeah, we drive to we've driven to Vegas and the Whiskey to see shows. And then We even drove to Denver one time to see Dangerous Toy. Like, I know it's like a weird, I've never seen them, and I've always thought they were a really cool band. So we just drove all the way there. So yeah, if you're nearby, sometimes I even drive far to see a band. So
yeah,
it'd be cool.
For sure, man. I'll absolutely let you know once I get out there.
Very cool. I do like to end with a charity. I think you had the greatest reaction to this question, because I said, hey, by the way, I like to end with a charity. And you said, that is amazing. Or like, I don't know what you said. You were really excited. Usually people just go, okay. And I've had people go, what, like, what? Like, I'll try to think of something, but you had something. So I'm excited to hear what this is.
Well, I want to know if is the Save Our Stages. That's not.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, that would be okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely. That's the one that a couple of musicians have brought up. I think, is that the same one I feel like I bought the t-shirt. I think if you buy a t-shirt, I think it's related to that. There's a couple different music ones. I think this was the Nashville one though. Is that the Nashville one, the Save Our Stages?
Well, no, the site that I got on, I think it's I want to say it was nationwide.
Okay.
Was like,
okay, good. Yeah.
So do I just send you the link for it or something?
No, I'll find it. Save the Stages. Okay. Save Our Stages. I'll put it in the notes. If people can throw a few bucks there, great. Definitely, everyone should check out your music I listen on Spotify. I think it's also on YouTube. Some of your Future Villains and that stuff's on YouTube that I found today. That was pretty cool too. So thank you so much for doing this, Dusty. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate you as well.
All right. Take care. We'll talk later.
You too, brother. Stay safe.
Bye-bye. So there you have it, Dusty Bow. I want to thank him for coming on the show. He's put out some great music already and definitely more to come. Follow him on social media and Spotify or wherever you get your music to keep up with him. If you enjoyed this episode, check out some of the other episodes I have. I got Sean McNabb. He was the bass player who played with Quiet Riot and Dawkins that we mentioned. The True Villains, who we also mentioned, and I'm wearing the shirt. Plus lots more. And if you want to support the show, you can give me some love on social media with a like or follow or share, or on YouTube with a like, a comment, or subscribe. And if you really want to go all out, you can write me a review on iTunes. That helps me a lot. Or you can just send me money through Venmo. I could always use some cash. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And remember to shoot for the moon.